Hello everyone, welcome to Wrestling Royalty, also in conjunction with Give Me a Hole Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to do something different tonight. It is technically not Friday anymore, it's early hours Saturday here in the UK when I'm recording this, but I've just got back from seeing The Iron Claw, which is the new movie that's come out in the UK. It's been out a couple of months in the US, so this might be old news, old hat for certain people if you're in the US and you're watching us, but welcome. Let me know if you've seen this movie already. We're going to be having a bit of a chat about The Iron Claw, which is the movie about the Von Erich brothers and the Von Erich family in general. Literally just got back about 20 minutes or so from seeing it at the cinema. And I wanted to do something a bit different to usual. And we're going to have a bit of a chat, a bit of a review. I'll give my thoughts on the Iron Claw, and whether you should go see it. But I'm really keen, if you've seen it already, drop a comment in. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you think about the Von Erichs in general. Are they a dynasty that's not really talked about enough? Because there's a lot of chat these days, especially in the last couple of days, about wrestling royalty, about royalty in families, in wrestling industry, and certainly they are up there in terms of one of the greatest families ever to do it in the professional wrestling industry. So let me know if you've watched any of the Von Erichs, whether it be later on with Kerry in the WWE or WF as it was, or even in their own WCCW. So let me know if you've ever seen anything of the Von Erichs, whether it would be live, whether you've watched some tapes, whether you've watched this on YouTube, etc. But tonight we are going to be talking about the Iron Claw. It's not going to be a long one. I'm just going to keep it to the point. And please bear with me because I am much more adept at talking and reviewing wrestling shows. I have done some movie reviews previously where it's all been in written form, but we're going to give it a go tonight and have a chat about it. Also, let me know what's your favorite wrestling film of all time, because there are a few. I put in the description that you've got things like Ready to Rumble, you've got things like Nacho Libre, you've got things like The Wrestler, Fighting with My Family. There's a few wrestling films out there, but it's not really something that's been covered at great length in the movie industry, even though there's a plethora of different storylines you could draw from. But tonight, as I say, we are going to be talking about The Iron Claw, which is starring Zac Efron, Lily James. You've also got the great Jeremy Allen White in there as well. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Iron Claw is named after the move of Fritz Von Erich, who was the father of the Von Erich boys, who went on to have a great success in the wrestling industry. However, you can't really talk about the Von Erichs without talking about tragedy. I will also throw it out there right now, and I should probably put a little sort of thing that's going to go across the screen as well. Ticker, let me find it, banner. I'm going to change it because I want to make sure people know there will be some spoilers. All of what you can see is pretty much based on real life. There are obviously embellishments, as they always are in biopics. So I will put a spoiler alert up just in case anyone is planning to go see it and they want to go in with completely fresh eyes. I would love you to watch along. I don't want to ruin anything for you. We will be discussing the film in a little bit of detail, so I don't want anyone to kind of to get annoyed at me or anything like that. So let me just show that. So I said we're here. We're talking about it. What's my initial thoughts, my rumblings, as it were, I guess. There was a lot of hype going into this. I'd heard great things. I'd heard from some quarters that it was going to be the best wrestling film that you've ever seen, and it's definitely up there. It's very different from a lot of the other ones. Whether you've seen, Fighting with My Family, which is about Paige, which is very much more sort of comedy mixed in with a bit of drama. This is drama throughout. This is tragedy throughout. Anyone who knows anything about the Von Erichs knows about the Von Erich curse. Tragically, all the brothers, apart from Zac Efron's character Kevin, have passed away, all at very young ages, and a lot of suicides, unfortunately, and marred that family. It doesn't steer away from much in this film, and if you do know it, it gives you almost like a sort of sense of foreboding throughout the entire movie, that you know what's coming and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just, you get drip-fed bits of information, whether it be David, played by Harris Dixon, David Von Erich, going across to Japan. You know that unfortunately be where he meets his end in very tragic circumstances in a hotel room. But this story is told from Zac Efron, his character's perspective, really, he's playing Kevin Von Erich. He is in absolute beast mode shape. The first time you see him is him getting out of bed. He's in these kind of like pants, I guess, as he gets out, and the Zac Efron's physique is absolutely incredible. He's stacked on a lot of weight, all in muscle. Obviously, really kind of delved into this part. Apparently, did a lot of training in the ring with Chavo Guerrero, who is the wrestling coordinator, and actually pops up as playing the Iron Sheik, which is quite funny, as Chavo Guerrero obviously is a household name for WWE and WCW fans. But Chavo Guerrero was the wrestling coordinator, and he did get in the ring with Zac Efron as the Iron Sheik. Apparently, they had about a 10-minute match, and if you watch any of the interviews with the cast who did do any of the wrestling, they all seem to talk very highly about the industry. They have a lot of respect for it after doing the training, running the ropes, taking bumps, etc. So fantastic to see people like Jeremy Allen White, Zac Efron, Harris Dickinson, all speaking very highly about wrestling and the discipline and what it takes to be in that industry. So they all embody that throughout. Now, obviously, if you're looking for a film to compare it to that's been out previously, you're probably looking at something like The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, where he was obviously in that as the Ram. And it's probably more akin to that in terms of tone. It's very somber. This is a story of tragedy at the end of the day. So there's a lot that goes into it for setting the audience up in terms of really making you like these brothers. You want to kind of just hang out with them, because every time they're on screen together, the film really comes alive. And, you know, Zac Efron's character the whole way through, say Kevin Von Erich, goes at lengths to say, even when he's introducing his new girlfriend to his family, and she asks him, what do you want to do? And he just replies, I just want to spend time with my brothers, you know, whether that be wrestling and whether we play in American football, etc. And that really resonates. I think the director, Sean Durkin, did a great job of that. He's not done too many other films, Sean Durkin. I think the one that he's most renowned for previously was a film called Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, starring Elizabeth Olsen. So, yeah, an interesting director to pick, but apparently he was very passionate to bring this story to the big screen, and I think he did it very well. I was reading that unfortunately there has been no Academy Award nominations, so it won't be any kind of Oscar for Zac Efron, and we'll go into his performance in a couple of minutes. But yeah, this story, and as I say, these are the kind of main brothers. They do leave a brother out of the film, which I know has been met with a bit of criticism, which was Chris Von Erich, who also died through suicide, and he was omitted from the film. And the director had said the reason why he was because it would be very repetitive. Unfortunately, 3 of the brothers did commit suicide in real life. That's you know, a very sad story in itself. Yes, and the themes of the movie is to kind of say that Fritz Von Erich, the father, who is fantastically played by Holt McElhenney, who I think I know from Mindhunter previously, great actor. The dad in the family, Fritz Von Erich, is very much a case of like he's trying to uphold the family name. He wants his family to be the best, and pushes them to be that, whether it be putting people under pressure to get those results, whether it's throwing them into positions where they really shouldn't be, or just leaving the brothers to kind of get on with it and rubbing his hands of anything. He's almost the villain of the story. You know, it steers very heavily in that direction, but never truly says it out loud. You know, he at the end of the day does some very sort of sketchy things, and you can read about what he did in real life as well. See Sam's kicking around. You'll be able to see Sam on Gimme Hell Yeah in just under an hour. He's going to be doing a SmackDown watch along as always on a Saturday night, Saturday early hours morning, Friday night, etc. So Sam's going to take the reins over in about 45 minutes, or just probably less actually. So big night for SmackDown, I'm sure, and Sam will go into that in a little while. But yeah, so we'll carry on there. But as the film kind of evolves, we are told the story from Kevin's perspective. We see it all building up to when eventually David leapfrogs him and kind of gets sent into the world title picture, which is all about the NWA title, which might be a title that mainstream audiences aren't too familiar with. So it kind of introduces that as the title as the one to have, because at the time, obviously with the territories and stuff and WWF really just starting to get going, that was the title that everyone wanted. And you are introduced to Harley Race, you're introduced to people like Ric Flair. So there's these household names that are thrown in there, obviously represented by other people in some circumstances. And I do want to touch on one in particular. The performances maybe don't match up quite how they were in real life, but it's a very interesting one. I'd love to know your opinions. If you go see it, let me know what you think of Harley Race in the film. And the one that seems to be grabbing a lot of the attention is Ric Flair, who's played by an actor called Aaron Dean Eisenberg, who's drawn a lot of criticism for the way he portrays Ric Flair in it. And it's a difficult one because Ric Flair is Ric Flair. He has a lot of charisma. The way he is in the ring was very, I would say, fairly unique. He created his persona. He just embodied who he was and turned the dial up a little bit. And I think these days, Ric Flair just bought into the whole character as he is. And it's a very difficult task to try and replicate that. So my heart does go out to him, but he gives it a good go. The promo that he cuts is pretty decent, I'd say, but yeah, his other kind of acting performances leave a little bit to be desired. But this film, let's not get it wrong, there is a star in it, a star turn, and that's Zac Efron. Obviously, the whole film features on him is becoming a dad, watching all his brothers around him pass away. He's really the emotional heartbeat throughout it, and you kind of like, you see how close he is to like potentially changing his brothers' minds when they're going down bad places, but never quite being able to do it. And I think, you know, that really shines through in his performance, that he takes the emotional side of things, and it's a fantastic performance by him. He's not someone who's renowned, I guess, for playing dramatic roles. You know, he started life as the High School Musical side of things, and he's done things like Baywatch. And this is the first chance I think he's really had to really jump into a character. And often you do find with biopics that it gives you that chance to really kind of find a character, delve into it, and lose yourself in that character. And there's moments in it where you really do feel for him, and you kind of feel like the character of Kevin is falling to pieces because he's losing his brothers and he's losing his world. The scene towards the end with his own sons is heartbreaking. As I said, I've got that spoiler kind of rolling across. But if you do get a chance to go see this film and you're a wrestling fan, and whether you know something about the Von Erichs or you don't know anything about the Von Erichs, I implore you to go see it. It's a great couple of hours in terms of learning about it. I know there was a Dark Side of the Ring episode on the Von Erichs, which is obviously very much a sort of like, here's the news in terms of the headlines of what happened in their life. This is more of the sort of drama behind it, the family behind it. It is embellished in places. I have seen an interview with Kevin where he's talking about the portrayal of his father in the film, and it's not quite how it was. His dad was a loving guy, just obviously was quite strict and had his own rules and sets and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely one to watch. As I say, if you are in, I can see a few people are watching along. Let us know, or let me know, what your favorite wrestling film of all time is. I'd love to have that kind of discussion with people, because a lot of them are very silly. But let me know what you think. I have seen there's a few suggestions on social media where I know they were making a Chris Benoit movie. I personally not sure I'd want to see that. I'm very much in the opinion that the people who died that night, only one of them had a choice and two of them didn't. And it would be a shame to kind of show that, and it'd be very difficult to separate who he was and whether he was the kind of character that could do that. I'm not sure whether there's much story behind Chris Benoit that would lead to it other than that night, and I don't think it would it sit well that you'd focus completely on that side of things when innocent people died. So that's my opinion on that. I'm not sure we'll see it. I think there was rumored that Chris Hemsworth was going to play Hulk Hogan in a film. I don't know how far along that is. We've previously seen rumors that people like Vince McMahon were going to get one. Again, not sure that's going to happen anymore. But I know Netflix were going to do a documentary series on him as well. So be interested to see if they go through with that. But in terms of the Iron Claw, if I was giving it a kind of rating out of 10, I would give it a high 8. I thought there was a lot to love about this film. It's very very emotional. There's a starter, as I say, by Zac Efron. If you've watched The Bear, you would know Jeremy Allen White. He's always going to deliver a good performance. So yeah, fantastic to see him in it. I actually really resonated with David, which I thought was a fantastic one. But the actor is called Harris Dickinson. I thought he played it really well with the screen time that he had. And I'm just trying to think. Yeah, Lily James is in it as the love interest, which is Pam, which is Kevin's wife, and the mother of his kids. And she does great as well. It's always difficult to remember that she's British because she plays a lot of American roles now. So she's doing really well for herself. Long gone are the days of things like Downton Abbey, etc., and Cinderella. She's delved into some interesting roles, but she plays it very well here as well. MJF is in the film. He plays Lance Von Erich, and probably gets about 5 to 6 seconds of screen time, round about there. For anyone who doesn't know, Lance was brought in after this tragedy started happening, and he is kind of Fritz introduced him as the cousin. Long lost cousin sort of thing, and he joined up to go against the Freebirds, who they were in a feud with at the time. So the Von Erichs was the Freebirds, and they needed someone to come in. It didn't work out in real life, but in this, I see you kind of see MJF doing a bit of wrestling, and that's it. So not much screen time for him at all. That side of things isn't even explained, so you wouldn't know that if you hadn't done a little bit of research. So doing some reading, watching the Dark Side of the Ring, etc., will give you a little bit more behind it, but you don't have to have any prior knowledge whatsoever. I think there's some people who were in the cinema who were happy just to see a shirtless Zac Efron throughout. So there's always that. I've heard a few people saying, "Oh, my girlfriend or my wife will go see it because Zac Efron's in it." But hey, if you enjoy wrestling, best of both worlds for everyone, and everyone will be happy. A couple of comments in there. Ryan Davis, I watched the movie in theaters, really enjoyed it. Only a few things I didn't like. He mentions Kerry being small and Kevin, how they portrayed Flair, character and title. Yeah, the acting's strange, but I don't know if that's more because of just who Ric Flair is, and it's very difficult to replicate his. But even like getting the signature woo wrong was a little bit irksome, because you'd think out of everything you're going to get right for Ric Flair, get the strut right, get the woo right, and you'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, the Kerry and Kevin's, like when I first saw them in like some promotional shots, I thought they were playing the other way around. I was convinced that Zac Efron was actually playing Kerry and Jeremy Allen White was playing Kevin, but apparently not. So I can see why that would be a little bit irksome there. Ryan says as well, Phil Billy plays Terry Gordy too. Yeah, so it's like a who's who of like 70s, 80s wrestlers. You do see people like Bruiser Brody, etc. It's an interesting one. So it's kind of like, if you're a wrestling fan, you'll be like, yes, I know that person, or I know that person, or oh, that's really funny that they're portraying that person that way. So I've got a real kick out of Chavo Guerrero playing the Iron Sheik. That was crazy for me to see. Norma's in as well. There is a movie starring Roddy Piper, Jim Duggan, Kurt Angle, called Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies. It's so bad, it is fun to watch. It's on Peacock and Prime. There's a couple like that. There seems to be wrestlers gravitate towards bad movies, or they get typecast. But then you also get some wrestlers who have gone on to have a fantastic. They Live with Roddy Piper, fantastic film. And then you've got random ones like MacGruber. Has a lot of wrestlers in. The Longest Yards with Adam Sandler has a lot of wrestlers in. They seem to go for comedies a lot more. But I've got a soft spot for Ready to Rumble personally. I thought Ready to Rumble is always a laugh, especially seeing like the sort of like taking the mick out of WCW back in the day when it was starting to fall apart, and how David Arquette got involved in WCW in real life as well just makes it all the more crazy. But yeah, have a soft spot for Ready to Rumble. But this is the real Von Erichs. And I would say, if anything, you come out of the film feeling obviously very sad, but the performance is what kind of pushes this along. I also think they're very respectful to wrestling. They never really go into the kind of like anything behind the scenes, such as the wrestler did, where you saw Mickey Rourke's character sat backstage and talking to the wrestlers and doing that. You, excuse me, you see a little bit of that in this. I think it is very respectful. It's almost a love letter to the Von Erichs, and that really shows. And personally, yeah, go see it. I would say is what the takeaway would be. If you just want something to kind of remind you of how big wrestling was back in the day, and the kind of different characters, I think it does a good job of showcasing some of them. It got me starting to think about some of the other characters in wrestling history that I'd like to see movies around, but nothing quite compares to the tragedies and the storylines that happened to the Von Erichs. So it was a great choice for them to kind of do this, even though at times it can be a little bit difficult watching. There are some very heavy themes around it, but yeah, that's the same for things like Fox Catcher. I know that was amateur wrestling, but certainly that had some of the same kind of tone where you know bad things are going to happen because they happen in real life, and you can't kind of look away, and it's very compelling. So again, similar when you see Kerry getting on a motorbike for the first time, you might know how that ends, or someone being sent to Japan. So very much a case of do some research if you want. You'll know a little bit more going in. Don't do any research. You'll still enjoy it going in because of the acting in it. But yeah, recommendation for me. Definitely go see it. It's a shame to see there wasn't a single nomination involved for it at the Oscars. But I'm sure wrestling fans will gravitate towards this anyway. But it's been out a couple of months in America. As I say, a couple of people have already seen it. So fantastic to have a few people in. I'm going to shoot off now. It's been a pleasure talking to you. But let me know in the comments. I'd love to know, again, what's your favourite wrestling film? Have you seen The Iron Claw? I really want to hear people's opinions on it. If you have seen it, let me know. There was a question right at the end, which I will cover now because I feel like it's a good segue into what's coming up in just under half an hour with Sam. How do I feel about Cody versus Roman official? Well, Matthew, I'm excited. I thought they did a great job yesterday. This stream is more about the Iron Claw, but I'll very quickly touch on it. I thought they did a fantastic job of hyping everyone back up again. There was a lot going on the whole of last week where people were speculating, what are they doing? Is it going to be The Rock versus Roman? We got some answers, but we also got a whole boatload more of questions than we did answers as well. So I think what they're doing is they're basically playing the game of let's get people interested. Let's keep people interested as well, which is the main thing. So can they keep people tuning in for the next few weeks until we run up to Mania? Well, I think they've found a way of doing it. So you let me know. Are you excited? Let Sam know in about 15-20 minutes or so when he jumps on. That we're talking about. Triple H is going to be on SmackDown tonight to address what happened at that media event. And yeah, fantastic work by all involved. I just hope that we are going to get regular Roman or Rock appearances heading forward. So join Sam for a watch along with SmackDown as you normally do, which will be taking place in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. I keep making up those times. I know it's going to be around 1 o'clock. That's when SmackDown starts. I just don't know what time he's going to be ready to jump on and be ready for all you good folk. But please go join him when he does. Make sure that you've press that subscription button, the subscribe button, and then you'll be the first to know when he goes live because you'll get a little notification as well. While you're there, if you are watching on Gimme Hell Yeah, please go on Wrestling Royalty, click that sub button on there as well. Give myself and my channel a bit of a like and a bit of love. Really appreciate it. Sam's just confirming that he would be on for 1 a.m., but he might be on a few minutes before, I'm sure, because he's in consummate professional who'll be ready to go, and go join him, because I'm sure it'll be great. But yeah, I'll leave it there. And if you have any comments, give me a shout. You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Sporsy19. Let me know your comments on there if you want as well. I'd love to have a chat with people about movies, wrestling, anything, all that good stuff. But for now, I've been Andy. This has been Wrestling Royalty. Thanks for joining. I'll see you real soon.